Oh, Bodhinatha concept, that's what we're talking about. It's right in there in the 7 habits. And then, the intellect by itself, as we know, we can spend all day going in intellectual circles. It's not the be-all and end-all of life, particularly when it comes to religious matters, spiritual matters. It can't give us very good answers. It's good for balancing checkbooks. It's good for solving scientific problems. But when it comes to understanding our inner nature and all, it doesn't have the answers. So that's where the intuition comes in. Our intuitive nature is to dominate the intellectual nature. So the analogy is to a computer. Computer can be a great tool. I know personally many of the monks used to spend a lot of time going to a library or going into our own library, looking things up in books, and now you just go on the internet, search on Google, and you find it. Right away, you save hours. You know, it's a tool. It's helping us do research much more efficiently, get more done in a day. Great tool. When it's under control. But you give it to an undisciplined child, and they'll end up in all kinds of places they shouldn't. Why? As it's not under control. So the intellect is just like that. We need to govern it. The intellect needs to be a tool of the soul. Governed by our intuition, not just running wild. Well, that's the idea. So the intuitive nature governs the intellectual nature, which is the instinctive nature, and then we have a spiritual being. How's that? That's important material. And then it goes on to mistakes. Again, the Christian influence. If you make a mistake, you can call it a sin. I sinned. The trouble with sinning is, how do you fix it? And it sounds serious. Unfixable. You end up in this situation where you're just in a state of regret and remorse about what you did. So therefore, and so Vivekananda said, the only problem, the only sin is to call man a sinner. It's not a helpful concept. Though we do use the word in the sense of papam, you can translate papam or wrong action as sin. Still, if there's Christian influence, it's not a good word to use, because it has the sense that you can't fix it. Or you have to go to a priest if you're Catholic and he'll fix it. There's nothing you can do on your own to fix this thing you did. Well, that's not helpful. Therefore, we fit into our concept of mistakes. Rather than labeling it as sin, we label it a mistake. When we label it a mistake, then we have the ability to learn from it. Remember Gurudeva's statement? Mistakes are great opportunities to learn. So it's an opportunity to learn something. Instead of feeling bad that we did this thing wrong, we turn it around and say, okay, this didn't work out very well. Let's think about it. How can I do this differently next time to get a different outcome? And depending on the complexity of it, answer varies. The story I always tell you, just so you've heard it, is driving down the back road, right? There's the potholes in the road. So you hit the pothole and everybody in the car hits the ceiling. How many times are you going to do that? Once? 5 times? 10 times the rest of your life? Well, perceptive self-correction is the quality we want, where we only do it once. We're observant enough, and we don't get into regret. Oh, I made a mistake. And then there we sit, wallowing in regret. No, we don't want to go there. We want to say, this went wrong. What can I do so it doesn't go wrong next time? So we drive on the side of the road that doesn't have the pothole. We make that conscious decision and we solve the problem. We don't make the same mistake again. So that's the advantage of labeling things mistakes and focusing on learning. Sometimes we feel we're not supposed to make mistakes, right? That's one of the reasons we feel bad. No, nobody else would make that mistake. But that's missing the point. You know, it's like saying everybody should get the same grade in school. You know, we're all different. We can't compare ourselves to others. There's obviously something there we need to learn for some reason. We make a mistake. So the point I make is, if anyone was perfect, they wouldn't be here in the first place. Everybody's imperfect. That's why we're born. If you're perfect, you're not born. You just keep going. For Shiva in the inner words. We're here because we have imperfections. Those imperfections manifest when we make mistakes. So how do we improve? We need to learn from the mistakes and really look at it as an opportunity to learn and not feel it shouldn't have happened. That's the idea. And then the third point in making a mistake is, if we've upset other people, we need to apologize in some, because otherwise there's a friction there. It causes a disturbance, an emotional disturbance that hasn't been resolved between us. And it's going to disturb us even if we're not aware of it. So we need to apologize in an appropriate way, depending how close the person is. If the person is very close, you can just be direct and talk to them about it. If the person is somewhat distant, you have to be more indirect. You can give them a gift on their birthday. Invite them to a dinner party along with another family when you normally wouldn't invite them. In some way, you reach out toward them just to smooth it over. And even if they don't really accept, at least on your side, that act of offering something calms down the emotion on your side, smooths it out. And then the fourth step is prayaschitta. So, for example, if the mistake involved significantly saving on your taxes in a creative way, in other words, not paying your taxes to the government, then you should do something physical, is what Bodhinatha says. You should give some money away in some form, in some corresponding way. So, for example, one of the prayaschitas I've given on that, now that we have the children's books, Yama Niyama books, is to buy some of the first book, which has the honesty, not stealing story in it, and distribute it somewhere to Hindu groups or libraries, so forth, kind of promote that idea of the importance of not stealing. And then you're educating others in some way to help them not do the same thing you did. That's a prayaschitta. Prayaschitta doesn't have to involve hurting yourself. It can involve just very logical ways of adjusting things. So that's one way now that we have that book. So we might end up distributing quite a few. Just kidding. The reprint comes good. Then the talk, the next part of the talk is affirmation. You're familiar with affirmations, so we won't go into that in detail, but the point is, we can have a negative self-concept, particularly if the ideas of being a sinner have gotten into the mind. So we need to affirm our divinity, convince ourselves we're a divine being. That doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean we're better than anyone else. But it means the essence of us is divine. It's not flawed. It's God. It's perfect. Inside we're perfect. Outside we're imperfect. And if we don't really think that way about ourselves, we can change that concept through affirmation on a consistent basis. Think, feel, visualize. Remember, those are the three keys. When we do an affirmation, we need to think about the meaning. We need to feel now how we will feel in the future when this is the case. And we need to visualize. So if we're visualizing, I am a divine being filled with cosmic energy, we can just see a picture of ourselves in our mind and see Shiva inside of us. there's Shiva dancing inside us, for example. That could be the visualization that goes along with the affirmation. In that way, we can change, because we're simply the product of what's gone into our subconscious mind in terms of how we view life, how we view ourselves. Much of that has been haphazard. Some of it can be negative if it's the idea of being a sinner. But much of it is just haphazard. Sometimes parents criticize us too much, and we feel flawed because of that, or teachers criticize us too much. As you know, we're supposed to correct the behavior, not the person. What you did was really stupid, but you're so smart, I know you won't do it again. Remember that idea. We don't challenge the person. We challenge the behavior. We encourage the intelligence in the person to manifest more and fix the behavior in an appropriate way. Well, that's that one. And the last one is faith, because it all ties in. And remember, third A was division of faith, blind faith, faith based on knowledge, and faith based on experience. Remember that?